Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Tech Tactics here, and this is going to be part 3 of my 2014 holiday buying guide. Now, this buying guide is going to be how to build a computer for under $1,000. Now, this is starting to become a high-end computer, so you will see a lot of pretty good parts in this PC part picker part list that I set up. So if you're interested in seeing these parts that I selected, definitely stick through the intro. And we're back. So with $1,000 to spend, you can get some really good parts. And in this build, we're going to see just that. And this computer should perform really well. Actually, $1,000 is one of the best price ranges to have, as you're going to get the best performance at well, not the best, but very good performance at such a low price. Obviously, it's very easy to spend more than $1,000, but at this price range, we're going to see a lot of really good parts. Now, for the CPU, I went with the Intel i5 4690K, sorry. This is a Devil's Canyon, so it does use either Z97 or Z87. With the Z87, you would have to have a BIOS update. But this is an absolute great CPU. It's going to perform really well, and it's 3.5 gigahertz quad core, hyper-threaded, it's not hyper-threaded, sorry, it does have turbo boost, not hyper-threaded. However, there's obviously better CPUs, but even the i7, it's not going to perform much better than this in gaming, as a lot of games don't actually use the extra cores and threads. So, with that said, the 4690K is probably one of the best CPUs for gaming right now. As for the motherboard, I went with the Gigabyte GA-Z97X Gaming 3 motherboard. Now this motherboard is a LGA 1150 Z97, so it does have support for the upcoming Broadwell series CPUs if you decide that you want to upgrade at a later time to that. And it also has 4 slots for your RAM, so it's going to be able to have 32 gigs of RAM, and it does have support for both Crossfire and SLI. So that way, if you have either an NVIDIA or an AMD graphics card, you can get another one at any point. In this build, we did go with AMD, but that's at a later point that I'll explain that. So as for the motherboard, it does have SATA 6 gigabit per second port, and it is basically going to do everything we need it to do, and it should be a decent overclocker. And that is why I also went with the Corsair H60 CPU cooler. Now this is a closed loop liquid cooler. It should be very safe to use. With that said though, it is still a liquid cooler, so you do need to be careful, and if you're not comfortable with liquid cooling, you can substitute it for a good air cooler such as the Hyper 212 Evo or many others like the Noctua ones. So with that said, moving on to the RAM, we went with ADATA XPG 8 gigs of RAM, 1600 megahertz. And this is very cheap, actually, very nice price, and it's going to be 2 4 gigs. And on the motherboard, we had slots for 4. So that way, at any point, or if you have extra money, you can throw in another 2 4 gigs and have a total of 16 gigs of RAM. With that said, for now, 8 gigs should be a perfect amount for gaming. And in this build, we did use an SSD. So we got the Crucial M100 256 gig SSD. And this is very nice, very cheap for 256 gigs, and it should perform very well. And actually, I plan on getting this same exact one myself. So there's not too much more to be said about that, and it will be able to use its maximum potential speed on those SATA 6 gigabit per second ports that we found on our Gigabyte motherboard. Moving on to the hard drive. Finally, if you guys watch my $300 or $500 builds, I used a WD Blue in those. We are taking it a step up in this $1,000 build and going with the Western Digital Black. The Black is quite a bit faster than the Blue, and I've actually had experience with that myself, and I can say it is considerably faster. And it's still 1 terabyte, should be perfectly enough for all your games, but if it's not, you can throw in a larger hard drive or an extra hard drive, as hard drives really aren't very difficult to install into your computer. With that said, there's not too much more explaining to do. So moving on to the graphics card, one of the most important parts, we're going to be getting a Sapphire R9 290 Tri-X graphics card. Now this is a 4 gig, so it's a step up from the typical R9 290s that have 3 gigs, and it is going to be very, very well performing. It's one of their highest end graphics cards right now. It's not quite as it is being beaten by a few others, but at this price point it's extremely good, and it is actually a lot cheaper than it used to be since AMD cut all their graphics card prices down to try and stay competitive with the new 900 series by NVIDIA. The reason why we didn't go with that was because it was going to be a bit more money and we needed to stay within our $1,000 price range for this build. As for the case, we're going to be doing the Enthoo Phanteks Enthoo Pro. So this is a really, really nice case. It has a lot of great features. It's actually quite new. Phanteks doesn't have very many cases on the market right now, but it has a lot of great specs. It can hold everything that we're going to need right now and should be able to hold everything we'll need in the future. And basically, this case is very hard to beat, and I actually used it in some higher-end build logs that I'm going to be doing too. So, moving on to the last part, the power supply. We're going to be using the Corsair CX 600 watt. The same power supply I used in both my $300 and my $500 build. And the reason why I keep using this one in these builds is because it is so cheap right now. And 600 watts is definitely enough for this build. It might even be enough for Crossfire at some point. However, if you do plan on doing Crossfire, I would definitely recommend that you bump that up to at least 750 watts. However, this 600 watts should be able to handle it. And it is 80 plus bronze, so it should save you a little bit of money on your power bill, and it should be very stable. And it is semi-modular. That's what the Corsair CX 600M, the M stands for the modular. However, having experience with my 750M is actually only semi-modular, even though they said that it's fully modular. But it's still going to be able to make it so you can do some really nice cable management inside your computer. And with the window on the Phanteks case, it should look really nice in there once you're done. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this $1,000 computer. It's going to perform extremely well with that i5 and the R9 290 together. It's going to be a very, very well performing computer. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely please be sure to leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more awesome videos like this. And definitely go check out my other build logs that I did, because I did a 300, a 500, this 1000. I did a 1500, a 2000, and a $5,000 computer. So definitely go check all those out, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.